It's me again, everyone's second favorite Lawl. I am not really that good discussing movesets, but if there's one thing I'm pretty good at discussing, it's final smashes. It's a really cool thing Brawl introduced them because they've helped add flair to all the movesets, and there isn't a single Lawl moveset without a final smash. But some final smashes are ultimately better than others. This was originally gonna be a top 5 worst and best final smashes, but turns out I actually have a lot more to say about these final smashes than expected. And with more than 65 movesets total in the classic era, I definitely have a lot to say in regards to this era. Yes, 65 movesets. I ditched all the movesets whose videos are no longer available. That means Demo Man, Pyro, Spy and Sniper, get out.
Oh, please.
As for how I rank the final smashes, I rank them based on 4 classifications on 5 smash ball rating system. First is the presentation, which helps determine if the final smash looks flashy and grandiose and not just like an average attack. Second is the faithfulness, which basically decides if the moveset is gonna be faithful to the character or what they represent. Third is the killing power, which determines how likely you are to get
death.
Spoilers, this has got a lot of it. And final is the balance, which acts as a counter to killing power, telling if the FS is either way too overpowered or underpowered. With 5 smash balls meaning the closest to perfect balance has been achieved. Then I will count the average of these classifications, which gives the final score to the final smash. Also do keep in mind I will not be ranking any old versions of final smashes, only the current ones, unless the update patch for the final smash happens to be missing. And after going through all 65 movesets in the classic era, I have completed my rank. Keep in mind, this ranking is ultimately my opinion, and a lot of people are going to feel differently about these rankings. But without further ado, let's get to our first list, the negative one.
You stole my idea. I did not. That was my idea.
The first entry on this list is actually gonna be a tie. Not because they share the same average, but because their biggest flaw is the exact same one. I don't think these final smashes were intended to be plagiaristic on purpose, and one of them does expand on the final smash's copies, but still. The Book of Corridai and Abandoned Ship, both from Lawl YTB Guy, are pretty original. CDI Link's final smash is pretty much a carbon copy of Mean's final smash at the end of the day, except it can absorb more opponents and has more actual uses to it. And I know it's based on a really iconic scene from the original CDI games, but it's somehow even more cheap at KOing people than Mean's final smash. YTB Guy's Lawl did have a problem of overly inflated damage percentages, and many of them could have scored higher if those numbers were brought down. But here it gets ridiculous. You can pretty much get an insta-kill in like 10 different ways. I do give it props for having so many different uses, which is more than what I can say about Dark Helmet's final smash. Even if it's based on a scene from the movie, it's still just Jamie Mawson's final smash, but less memorable. I think the hyper chase scene, complete with ludicrous speed, should have been the inspiration for final smash instead. Because all things considered, this is pretty lame. This is also probably why we got so many Jamie Mawson inspired stage changing final smashes afterwards, but I don't think it ever got this blatant. So yeah, even if these are blatant copies, at least they are copying good final smashes. Sometimes you can be original when you try to make an idea that doesn't exactly land.
Saitte minut näyttämään tyhmältä.
Look, ranking this next final smash this low hurts me deeply. Because if it wasn't for this set, I never would have become a Lawler. But I know even Curbstar agrees with me to an extent. Dark Network Concert Crush is a pretty disappointing final smash. It essentially amounts to a minefield. The presentation is just random as explosions on stage with no interesting visuals, and then it just ends. Like the whole thing is straight up 12 explosions, it goes on way too long, And as a big Digimon fan, I know there is much better Final Smash for him, and if you've seen Itemon's Tissel Z set, you know what it is. So yeah, I don't have much to add to this.
Oh, look, nothing.
It's time for the first Final Smash from the original Law on this list, and some people may actually consider this to be blasphemy, but you know, Madotsuki is pretty much Jin's baby, yet he could not have given her a better Final Smash than Dream's End. Yume Nikki has all kinds of ridiculous creatures and entities, and the best thing he can do is zoom in onto a door that insta-kills anyone who falls through it. The worst thing is, this is a reference to a certain event Madotsuki can trigger in Yume Nikki, called the Face event. Basically, when Madotsuki enters the same staircase, then this thing slowly appears on screen. Wouldn't it have been way better if, I don't know, once Madotsuki stabbed that thing, we see Face slowly come out of the staircase shown in the zoom out as it begins jumping around the stage and growing bigger and bigger. That would have been a great way to represent one of the biggest what the fuck moments in the game, instead of this one-hit KO nonsense. Thankfully, Jin would later learn his lesson.
It is so tiny!
I will always respect Agent Rock Luxury for being the first spin-off maker, and I knew him personally at some point, and he will be greatly missed by the community. However, LOL ARL didn't exactly get up on the right foot. Case in point, covered killing time. This Final Smash, while covering a lot of ground, doesn't allow you to aim the attack, is completely lacking in terms of visuals, and it takes way too much damage extremely quick. And of course Heavy is gonna be invulnerable. Why establish that? The only thing missing is that ARL declares that the attack can be done mid-air just like Jin's Final Smashes often remind us. It is funny how the Final Smash repeats itself 3 times with exact same stage and sandbag I guess, with barely any alterations. In a weird way, covered killing time is both overpowered and underpowered at once, because you can't move during it or aim the attack, and also the opponents can't really escape it. That's why it doesn't have an over-the-top killing factor like most other super duper OP Final Smashes from this era.
Machine gun!
Oh, I feel really bad about doing this. I will always cherish Capricorn, everyone's favorite LOL mom, and the creator of the greatest spin-off of all time. But listen, I am not a hardcore Big Bang Theory hater, but rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock, how come you have never tried to add something to it? It's the Final Smash with the worst presentation on this list. The joke is kind of funny, and it has potential for some really funny interactions. But with the history Nova has had and how creative some of Nova Final Smashes would get even during the standstill era, it's a really disappointing one. And I am kind of shocked we've had 2 update patches on Sheldon and neither of them have tried to make this Final Smash more interesting in any way. I am not asking you to make a 3rd update patch just for this Final Smash, but maybe when you have time at some point you could try to give it a bit of an edge in terms of visuals, and maybe increasing the killing factor just a small bit. It can just be a short video, like seeing these old Nova Final Smashes animated in modern style would be neat to see. But if you feel the Final Smash is fine the way it is, then that's fine. At least I got through a full discussion of Sheldon Cooper in Nova without making a young Sheldon joke. Ah, fuck. We've reached the bottom 5 and now we'll get into some really bad stuff. And speaking of a guy who did some really bad stuff, here is Hitler. Why is this Final Smash just summoning real-life soldiers, airplanes and tanks? Not only is it too close to home, it really doesn't capture Dolphy. Look, I personally think Downfall Dolphy is a whole different character from, you know, Hitler thanks to all the parodies and such. But this moveset really doesn't do a good job separating the two. In my opinion, it should have been more based on, Dolphy's rants, where he's informed about something embarrassing about the opponents and then he begins to rant while a Dolphy YTPMV plays in the background, because I know this was a popular YTPMV source back in the day, and I feel like YTPMV representation in OG Lawl was always kind of lacking. He could be shooting glowing rainbow versions of that one stupid face he does. But back to the final smash we got, it is also funny that with all the tanks and armadas, Modozuki never gets KO'd once, which really shows how ineffective this final smash really is. Actually, you know what? Hitler's final smash should just have been showing the ultimate tier list to someone who is in the LoL community and see if they spot him.
I'm not gonna let my credit and good name be done in by a damn computer error.
It took me a while to rewatch this moveset after so many years, but oh my god. Hank Hill's moveset is just an advanced form of not caring. It almost makes me giggle. Basically, Hank Hill is a spiteful jab at people who just set his chin to do Simpsons characters, and it shows. This is what his intro is like. Did you catch that? Let's replay it. Yeah, I admit that it's pretty funny. But arguably the funniest part of Hank's entire set is his fucking final smash. Based on a random scene of Hank and his friends walking around each other. This is the Brocopter. Brocopter is so bad it's good. It can't kill people. It can fear the infinite jumps. Hank can get KO'd during it, but it is really funny to look at, especially when it gets faster. So it ranks extremely low on just about every single category, except for balance. Like it's not actually overpowered or underpowered, just powered. Powered by chin spite and laziness. Or honestly, this isn't lazy. This is lazy in a genius level.
What you see is what you get. Well, maybe if I don't see anything.
Yup. Original Law continues its streak of finals matches that are just bad. Brocopter I can at least excuse, with Hank Hill being a character Jin wasn't too passionate on. Anti-terrorism is just... Toongal's set is generally agreed to be almost on a show character level with how bad it is. Anti-terrorism does kill instantly like most of Jin's final smashes, but not only does it have a very small radius, it also kills Gal himself. The worst thing is, this isn't even based on that good of a scene. When I think of Toongal's potential final smash, I think of something a lot more ridiculous. Toongal is just one of those sets whose badness needs to be studied. As unplayable as Zoolander and Best Hercules are, at least they got decent or memorable final smashes. Wait, what about...
Irate gamer.
Ironically bad final smash is still a bad final smash. An irate gamer, no matter what, has the worst final smash in the original Law. But like, it still could have been funny, pathetic, and satirizing boars in an interesting and more memorable way. It is already an even worse version of an already bad final smash from the actual Smash games. And yes, this final smash did give us
Apples.
but the inspiration for this is just another person's rant on Irate Gamer. And even at his worst, Irate Gamer isn't exactly boring. I feel that it could have been literally anything else. Hell, it even could have been...
Get the fuck off my property!
And why is it called the Borean? Now we've reached number 1, the bottom of the barrel. And honestly, what final smash in the classic era could be any worse than the Borean? Well, it's not exactly infamous. I don't think I've ever seen it discussed, so it comes across as a total surprise. The worst final smash in the classic era is... the Pancake Man. Pancake Man is a baffling choice for a final smash. Now some of you may be going, but wait, the wiki said Scout's final smash got changed. Unfortunately, I could not find the video with it, which is why I said this at the beginning. And yeah, the first LoL spin-off really did get up on the wrong foot. Pancake Man is still a bit less boring than covered killing time, but it is still based on something a fan came up with. And yes, Soldier did also get a final smash based on a fan creation, that being Penny's Cupcake, but Penny's Cupcake is iconic and still known to this day. Last time I checked, while Pancake Man's original videos are very popular to the point of amassing tens of thousands of views, Pancake Man isn't even the well-known scout freak, so to speak. Ultimately, this just comes across as way too niche of a choice. And yes, I do think the Lost Patch version is a great replacement, but that one is lost forever, and instead we have Pancake Man. How else is Pancake Man bad? Well, it just isn't special. It's Wario Man with an additional option for speed, like Ray. He doesn't even feature any of Pancake Man's powers that are shown during Scout's hero video, and as a result, it just leaves a lot more to be desired. It's boring, it's unfaithful, it's weak, it's not even balanced, it's Pancake Man. But enough negativity. Let's talk about good stuff with top 10 best final smashes of the classic era, and I am happy to say Lawl ARL's rut didn't continue for long.
I play guitar, apparently!
Despite the fact it has an uncreative name, Morgan is a really good final smash. Not only is it oddly cinematic during a period where there weren't too many cinematic final smashes, it's surprisingly unpredictable and balanced. Not only that, it is based on an official TF2 thing. I mean, at this point, Meet the Team shots are legendary, and outside of making the duration of the rockets falling a bit shorter, it could still really be a good final smash today. I definitely recommend keeping this as a final smash for him if anyone wants to remake Engineer. However, I am not that knowledgeable on TF2, so if you have a more faithful idea, go for it. That uncertainty is also why it's still only number 10.
Don't beat yourself up like that, Lars. That's what the killer robots are for.
You know, a lot of YTP guys sets are often plagued by the issue of final smashes that go on for way too long or deal with way too much damage. Which is why probably outside of the plagiarisms none of them score too low, because no matter what, the killing power on them will always be high. So imagine my surprise when I learned the set with one of the better final smashes in YTP guys Lawl is fucking Smash! Awesome new robot is everything Pancake Man isn't. A transformation final smash with enough options to lead to some relatively gruesome kills. It's not doing billions of damage with every move. It has the option to fly around and it can cover a lot of ground with the bombs, trap enemies with the rope, and it can fire lasers into one direction, and both directions at once at different angles. Now that's the good kind of overpowered we need. Once again, I am not familiar with Smash, but I have seen plenty of Smash skits back in the day, and I can't honestly think of a better final smash. My New Best Friend is a robot video is a pretty good time capsule of their humor, and the video as a whole still holds up. So yeah, I may not really care for Smash in YTP guys Lawl, but I have to admit the final smash is really good, but not the best this Lawl has to offer.
You said fuck!
Man, seeing this does make me wish Jin did try to fix some of the other final smashes previously mentioned, because Critical Rage will always be infinitely superior to Chuck Norris. Critical Rage is well animated, extremely in character, and just memorable. Even if it just NC with a crowbar. It helps this scene is actually based on one of NC's most infamous Rage moment, where he destroys the DVD for Neverending Story 3. So yeah. This is a really good final smash, all things considered, and God forbid if someone really did want to go for an NC remake, I would like to see an even more exaggerated version of this. I don't really have much to say here. Critical Rage is a spectacular overkill in a good way.
Look, are you ready for some football?
Tommy Wiseau's set may be one of the oldest Jin set to really hold up over the years, and nothing proves that harder than Futaks. Futaks feels like the first final smash that really could exist in an actual smash game. It also implements things Jin came up with into LoL much better than some later things. It's also referencing a funny battle scene From the Room, with everyone going out tossing football around mindlessly while wearing their tuxedos. Though in this final smash only Mark appears. I guess Peter went,
That's it, I'm done.
and that's why he's not here. However, the idea of a dunk is definitely the best part, and what lifts it from another average Final Smash into a classic. But we are not even in the top 5 yet, so let's keep going.
That's the plot of Moonfall 2022.
One of the best things about this ranking is the fact that no matter how bad of a character you are, doesn't have any effect on how good your Final Smash is. Toon Wily has become infamous because while his set seems OP, his normals are slow and terrible, making him completely unviable. However, I would argue that his Final Smash, the moon out of its orbit, is nothing short of great. It just doesn't involve Wily crashing the moon to the stage, because that would be lame and unfaithful. Instead, it causes all kinds of natural disasters, which make the fight difficult for the opponents. Despite Bill Nye's Final Smash from Lawl YTP Guy being a bit too expanded version of this, I think Wily's Moon Final Smash wins for being much more interesting and to the point, and also the fact the tidal wave isn't an instant KO. It's definitely where Jin started to really balance his Final Smashes.
Kissan tassu. Se tietää pahaa onnea.
Lawl Nova didn't do too well last time, so let's check on them now. And would you know it, we actually get one of the funniest Final Smashes ever, especially for the time. The potion is an absolute classic Final Smash, referencing an absolute classic scene. While Isma's Final Smash, Hurting Like Hell, isn't well explained, I still think it's a great Final Smash and I don't think anything needs to change about it. It moves like the potion that show Lawl Nova always had the potential to become the biggest spin-off of all time. And while the trampoline scene is completely unnecessary addition, it's also really funny. And since there are some Final Smash as well, falling off can be an issue for Procaptor. Scap keeping this in mind is surprisingly useful. I also like small attempts at character interaction, even if it's cutting into the characters themselves uncropped. You don't see too much of that these days. It really is a funny Final Smash that may not have the variation of something like Awesome New Robot, but you should not underestimate it.
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you...
I really feel that out of Jin's first 10 movesets, only one of them has stood the test of time most gloriously, and that is Frollo's moveset. And one thing that especially still holds up is Frollo's Final Smash, Hellfire. Hellfire is already based on a great musical number, and giving it Final Smash treatment is exactly what is needed. It is the first set where Final Smash had a brilliant presentation. It is deadly, and yes, it is not the most balanced, but it doesn't matter when everything else about it is memorable. Looking back, I am kind of glad Frollo's moveset never received further updates, because I just know that if Jin was given the opportunity, he would have turned Frollo's Final Smash into a Frollo Soul reference rather than something taken from the movie. That's in my list of things that would have killed LoL community right then and there, if it had happened.
Quick, down to the fallout shelter. The bombs are dropping.
You know, my stance on Final Smashes that specifically go for YouTube poop references really depend on the character. For the King, his Final Smash being Dinner Blaster is perfect, while LoL Beta CD Eigen's Final Smash being an Achilles 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reference is extremely nonsensical, and I honestly wasn't too fond of YTB Guy's Final Smash for him either. Honestly, when you have a character whose entire personality and abilities are pretty much fully dependent on YouTube poops, of course turning it into a YouTube poop reference is the best option on hand. Yes, unfortunately due to nature of my rank is an out-of-source reference cost is faithfulness points, but in every other aspect, YTP Guy Morsu's Final Smash presentation-wise is genuinely perfect. It is so good. Chap actually replicated it for his Morsu remake, being one of the few LoL remakes to not change the Final Smash. I also like the part with Morsu choosing the person he's gonna drop the nuke on with the ropes, giving the Final Smash some semblance of balance. Yes, the damage levels are still ridiculous like in most of YTP Guy's Final Smashes, but that doesn't take away from FS1 bit. Honestly, this was also the first good spin-off Final Smash, and it proves spin-offs can stack to the original Lawl when it comes to Final Smashes and movesets in general. So yeah, I want some bombs, thank you very much. No, wait!
Get me Rambo.
Speaking of Final Smashes that are perfect and will likely never need to be changed, let's talk about Shin interpretation of Weird Al. With everything that has come out of Al since his set was first released, Weird Al is the Shin character people have wanted to see a remake of the most, with his popularity only being rivaled by Robotnik. Original Weird Al set isn't bad, it just really doesn't capture him as the pop cultural phenomenon he is, mostly using stuff from his music videos, but the Final Smash is actually just the most perfect choice of the entire set. It is based on the Rambo scene from UHF. Trevor wrote a moveset based on Weird Al for Oreo's Discord moveset jam, and the only thing he kept from the original set was this Final Smash. Not only is it hilarious, not only is it chaotic, it's also a parody. Weird Al's entire thing is parodying songs, so his Final Smash being a parody of something in pop culture also works perfectly. The actual Final Smash is also surprisingly balanced for Classic era, and this is also where Shin was really starting to get up his game in terms of animation. Weird Al's Final Smash is the perfect farewell to Classic Shin. It would be a fitting end if this were the best Final Smash of Classic era too, but there is just one Final Smash that edges this one out. Shin, despite all his issues, was capable of something all Lawless wish to be capable of. Introduce a character nobody has ever heard of, and then make hell of an impression with them. And there is one character whose Final Smash still leaves hell of an impression over 10 years later. And if you don't know who I could possibly be talking about, you will know it as soon as you hear this. Treasure fucking Hunt. I would argue, not only is Treasure Hunt the best Final Smash in the Classic era, it is also the scariest Final Smash of all time. Based on a very dark and iconic scene from Ip, I don't know how else could you make it better. Yes, the gimmick that finding the right doll cancels the Final Smash is questionable, but Shin makes it extremely difficult on purpose, meaning that the minute this hideous red-eyed monstrosity begins to rise from the canvas, the players are inevitably screwed. But my complaints mean nothing. It's perfect. It's everything you want from a dreamer. Their Final Smash should be a traumatizing experience. I'm also glad it came out before the remaster, because the Ib remaster makes the bell noise more high quality and less scary as a result. This is how you should integrate horror into LoL, not shit like Villain's Valley. It's anxiety inducing and really stands the test of time. Now, here is the ranking of all the Final Smashes with their respective scores. Classic era was a time of experimentation, during which we already saw breeding diversity of creativity. Even if we had questionable choices like Diglett summoning armies of Bidoof, two unrelated characters having the exact same conceptual Final Smash, cheap one-hit KOs, Pancake Man, and stuff that was just completely made up, there are still a lot of lessons to be learned from the early days of LoL when it comes to presentation of these hard-hitting moves. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments how much you agree or disagree with my choices. Don't be afraid to ask my thoughts on Final Smashes I didn't talk about, and feel free to critique me in case my rating system is flawed, so I know what to change for the next ranking video.